What up, nerds, and welcome to another footloose episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 442, recorded Monday, September 25th, 2023. Tonight we're talking about another Patreon pick. This one was chosen by the one, the only, the Librarian. We're talking about Saw from 2004. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got your boy Randeezy. What's up, man?
What's going on, children?
How's it going, buddy? It's been a while since we got to talk Saw. I don't think we've talked any on this show, have we?
Yeah, we've reviewed Jigsaw.
Oh, that's right. That doesn't
Spiral
count.
And Spiral. Yeah, the last couple.
I didn't even see that one.
Are famously the best. Everybody knows that.
Yeah. Everybody remembers Chris Rock's beautiful turn as probably Jigsaw's number 2 again.
He's the 19th
I presume.
apprentice.
I haven't seen that one. Yeah, this man has apprentices flow like water for this man. They just come at him.
I know. Engineers are hard up for work these days, I guess.
Puts it on Craigslist, and man, people come running.
They come running, sprinting. Last but not least, calling in from Seoul, South Korea, we got your boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, what up? It's your boy. You'll get caught up in the crossfire. I want to play a game, bish.
You'll get caught up in the crossfire.
Hell yeah, of one mind. Of one mind.
Wow. I don't even know how to react to that. Holy fucking shit.
That's appropriate.
We're caught up in the crossfire tonight. That's for sure.
You get caught up in the... Is that like the best theme song for any board game to ever exist? I think yes.
I mean, yeah, it is. None go that hard.
Can you sing another board game theme song?
Wait, Daddy.
There you go.
Daddy.
There used to be one for like Connect 4 too.
They have a bunch of them.
They all had a little jingle. That was the thing back then.
Is it me? Is it you? No. Yes, no.
Wow.
Yes. Oh, well, okay. That's kind of a jingle.
It's
spoken word. Spoken word poetry jingle. There you go.
This is a whole
we got a lot of games.
I was not.
Come on.
Before we get into Saw, let's tackle a little bit of housekeeping real quick, gentlemen. Here is your final reminder. We have our October poll currently posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on 3 movies we're talking about this October. It's our big triple feature episode on the line here. You guys are voting on theme alone. You won't know the movies until we find out what theme wins, and then we will announce them. Ooh. The 3 themes you're voting on are It's Alive, Dark Worlds, and Slime Time.
Whoa. Bob, tell me that tie has been broken.
It is still a dead heat between It's Alive and Dark Worlds.
All right, children, you're going to either need to come out and vote or change your vote. Something's got to happen here.
Vote or die, as I was told.
2 weeks running, we got some extra votes, and the result didn't change. It still was a tie. So something's got to break. But
this podcast needs a champion. Vote for your champion.
We can't watch 6 movies. We can't do it.
But we can watch all 9.
Literally, I will not watch 6 movies.
Yes, you will, Randy. You'll like it.
I won't do it.
Randy, you get paid so much money to watch.
You have so much free time, Randy.
Dude,
come on.
Living in the lap of luxury ain't easy. I don't know who told you it was, but
let me pull up your contract, Randy, and point out your obligations to this podcast.
Own you.
There's going to be some hell to pay here.
You can either honor your contract or you can get out.
Let's replace Randy right now. Who wants the job?
Baby.
Anybody?
Oh, man.
Yeah, get your votes in. You got a few days left on the poll. Break this thing for sure. We definitely cannot watch all 6. Get your votes in. In other Patreon news, we're dropping a brand new minicast every single Friday throughout the month of September. and October, actually.
Oh.
Holy shit. This past Friday, we dropped a mini-cast on New Religion, which is a Japanese horror film on Screambox. And then this coming Friday, the 29th, we're dropping another one on a little movie called It Lives Inside. Juice, this is another one of your mini-casts.
Yeah, this is a brand new film that just came out, and actually it came out this past weekend, so you're getting it fresh, and people were already recommending it in the Slack, completely independent that any kind of mini cast was coming out there saying, hey, if you want to check out one film in the theaters, coming into this spooky season, they were saying this is a good one. I agree. It's got some good autumn vibes as well. Not as hard as the Cobweb a couple weeks ago, because that one was just like straight Halloween and pumpkins, but this one has some really good autumn vibes. It's a creature feature. And it's really interesting, too, because it's coming from this Indian immigrant family. And so their daughter is kind of riding that line between, like fitting into her, society that she's grown up with and like kind of learning her family's like traditions and stuff like that. And there's this monster, and it's good. It's a good movie. Nice. I liked it. Yeah.
That was a mini cast, I believe. Macro. No,
Let me just go ahead and
microcast. There it is. I was like, went the wrong direction there.
Check that out this Friday over on Patreon. And if you guys are living anywhere near Jacksonville, Sunray is showing that currently. So if you do want to check it out, you can do so in the theater.
And we got some baller mini casts coming for October.
We do. I wasn't gonna gonna say what they are just yet.
We'll wait till next week. I'll just say a little tease.
Don't touch that dial.
You're gonna lose your fucking mind.
Need to hear this.
You need to hear this.
You're gonna go ape shit.
We're withholding this week. You gotta wait. You gotta wait and see what it is.
This is called tantric podcasting. You don't even know what it's gonna be. Ooh,
I bet you can't wait to find out what those mini casts are, huh? You gotta keep listening.
We're fucking teases. We know you like it.
You like it.
In this house, we tease.
We're even teasing with the bumps. Damn.
The last bit of Patreon news I have is just another reminder. We are hosting our third annual Chilloween party on Friday, October 13th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And this is a Patreon exclusive event. If you subscribe to our Patreon at any tier, you're welcome to come hang out with us. And we're going to be playing some horror movie trivia, and the winner of that's going to get a prize sent to their homes. And then we're also going to have a bit of a costume contest. So we encourage you guys to dress up. We'll vote on the coolest costume. Whoever wins that also gets a prize. And then we're going to host a surprise screening of a film.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good shit.
Third annual,
even to us right now.
We're getting into like so many traditions. It's blowing my mind looking back and be like, oh my god, we've been doing this for years.
Yeah, year running this show.
Yeah, this is like the fourth tradition for one thing, fourth year, and then this is the third year for Halloween tradition, Halloween party tradition. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun.
It's amazing what happens when you start a new fucking tradition every goddamn year. It seems like, well, we got to do it. We've done it before.
You know what we should do. We had a lot of fun the past couple years, and everybody that came out had some really fucking impressive costumes. Honestly, I was kind of blown away. It was a lot of fun though. So come hang out with us Friday, October 13th at 9 Eastern. Mark your calendars. Do you guys have anything you need to plug?
My house is clean, baby.
Just my butthole,
Plug
the
that
usual.
butt.
Done and done.
The last thing we got to do is hear a word from our sponsors.
If you insist. I mean, goddamn.
Gather round, all you ghastly ghouls, and kick off this Halloween season with scary good music and even scarier movies. Monster House Records is a brand new vinyl record retailer specializing in punk rock music and horror movie memorabilia. Located in the heart of Sanford, Florida, they boast a wide array of physical media, including vinyl records, cassette tapes, CDs, VHS, Laserdisc, and more. You can also find vintage tees, books, and plenty of toys. Come for the music, stay for the chills and thrills at the Monster House Records. Be sure to follow them at Monster House ORL or visit them on their website at monsterhouserecords.com.
You guys remember back in the day when the word vintage started with a D for some reason?
Whoa, some cultures, some languages don't have V sounds. Okay, Randy. So we just have
English
to do
that was just spoken.
So insensitive. God.
You know, I'm just saying. I will say we have been getting some praise for that ad. So if you would like to advertise here on this show, hit us up. We'll put something together for you.
People love the way we sell out. They love it.
Sell out
With me.
Me
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
Randy, I think our house is now clean.
Are you sure?
Yes.
This house is clean.
All right, let's get into the main event. We're talking about Saw, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
How many editions of this particular film do you possess, Bob?
Bomb.
Damn. Sorry, Mom and Dad. Just one. Just the one. Bob, what have you done?
Is it part of a box set? Do you have the whole spiral collection?
Yeah, I've got the 8-disc collection here. For some reason, this thing has all 8 movies
Gamer pack.
on Blu-ray and DVD. Like,
Oh God.
there's
Oh, it's from that bridge era.
49,000 discs in this box set.
Jesus.
But because there's so many damn movies in this box set, there's really no synopsis on the back of the box. So I have to resort to IMDb. Saw, released 2004, rated R, with a runtime of 1 hour and 43 minutes. This was written by Lee Winnell and James Wan, directed by James Wan, starring Carrie Elways, Lee Winnell, Danny Glover, Ken Leung, Michael Emerson, Shawnee Smith, handful of other folks, Tobin Bell, of course. Plot synopsis brought to you by IMDb is as follows. 2 strangers awaken in a room with no recollection of how they got there and soon discover they are pawns in a deadly game perpetrated by a notorious serial killer. Gentlemen, I know we'd seen this.
I'm too old for this shit.
We are too old for this shit. I know we'd seen this shit before, so I won't ask that question. But I am curious, did you guys see this in the theater? I'd like to know that. And, of course, would you recommend people check this out? Ray and DZ, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I do believe I saw this original in the theater. I haven't seen all of the Saw movies, but I think maybe like 3 of them have I seen in the theater. I'm pretty sure this was one of them. I definitely recommend this. This is a film that even if you don't see any of the sequels to this film has such an impact on the horror genre that if you have any sort of interest in the progression of that as time moved on, you could definitely check this out. And it's pretty essential viewing for that. It's also just a relatively good time. It's good for Halloween. It was very much a Halloween movie when they were releasing them yearly. So I think there's a lot of love for this film even now amongst fans. It's a far from perfect film, but I don't know. I've got a pretty soft spot for this first one.
Cool. Juice, what about you?
I did not see this in the theater. I saw this for the first time in your bedroom, Bob. Do you remember that?
Tell me more.
No, not really. Did you know the ending, or was it a surprise still?
I didn't. So that's why I wasn't curious if you remembered. Yeah, you showed me this movie And we'll get into it later. I'll talk more about that experience. But yeah, I mean, it did become a kind of yearly tradition, as Randy mentioned, where a lot of us, would go see the Saw movie in theaters around Halloween time, but not the first one. So yeah, I mean, I would recommend this one. This is one of the representatives of kind of like the contemporary classics. It spawned a huge franchise that has grown larger than some of the old school 80s franchises by this point. So yeah, I mean, I think the original trilogy of Saw is worth watching. I think you should watch this one. Just go ahead and maybe knock out the first 3 or something. Other than that, results may vary.
I can't wait to hear you talk a little bit more about being in Bob's room for the first time.
Get ready. I mean, we are teasing this episode, so I'm gonna withhold a little bit more. You gotta wait. You gotta listen.
I have
more,
a daddy kink. Hey, Juice.
Whoa, Bob! I know.
Yeah.
Juice. I heard you like feet. Have I got a movie for you?
You heard wrong, my guy. Bob, how about you? Did you see this in theaters?
I did. Yeah, I saw this in the movie theater with our boy Mike, a longtime friend, and it was an awesome experience. It was like packed house. I want to say it was a Friday or a Saturday night, like opening weekend. And when the ending of this movie happened, like, I mean, the freaking house popped off. People were losing their minds. It was
I'm all boned up over here.
It was a fun experience. Yeah, I totally recommend watching this one. I don't know that I'd recommend beyond this one, but I think yeah, this is a modern classic for better or worse. It's definitely not a perfect movie like Randy alluded to, but I think you got to watch Saw if you're a horror hound. It's so iconic at this point. I think you got to watch this one. Sounds like a pretty solid recommendation across the board here at Straight Chilling. We are going to spoil the shit out of this movie, and I would say if you have somehow not had the ending spoiled, you haven't seen it, I would say watch it before you listen to our full review, because shit gets kind of crazy. So here comes.
Not impossible that we have already spoiled it.
Yeah. I don't know how you would get away with that, but yeah.
I don't know, but let's do it.
Here comes that spoiler warning.
Spoiler warning.
Bob, do you have this plot synopsis?
Yes, I have it.
All right, spoil it for me, Rob.
Oh, you're about to be so spoiled. You don't even know what to do with yourself.
Spoil me.
Oh yeah.
That's what a boy likes.
I'm gonna give it all to you right now.
Everyone's going crazy on this cast. Wow.
All right.
Listening.
Yeah, they're losing their minds at home. Oh my god. All right, here's the plot synopsis for Saw. A photographer named Adam wakes up in a bathtub in a large, dirty-ass bathroom, chained to a pipe. There's a corpse lying in the middle of the floor, and across from him is Dr. Lawrence Gordon, who's also chained to a pipe. They each find a small tape in their pockets, use the tape player on the corpse's hand to play them. There's a creepy voice on the tape, and he calls Adam a voyeur and says he may very well die in that room today. Dr. Gordon's tape tells him he has to kill Adam by 6 o'clock or else his wife and daughter will die. They find some hacksaws in the toilet tank, but the chains are too thick to cut through. The doctor thinks he knows who has done this to him, and we have a flashback to the police investigation of several murders committed by the Jigsaw Killer. Jigsaw puts people in traps where they have a chance to escape, but end up dying in every case with the exception of one. A woman named Amanda, who managed to remove a bear trap from her face just before it popped off. Detective Tapp...
She's been traumatized. Is she okay?
She's probably fine. Detective Tapp and Detective Singh are investigating these Jigsaw cases, and they find Dr. Gordon's pin at one of the murder scenes. They interrogate the doctor, but ultimately don't have any evidence, so they have to let him go. Flash back to the bathroom. They realize there's a two-way mirror on the wall. They smash it, revealing a camera. We then see there's a man watching them on a computer monitor in the doctor's house. He also has the doctor's wife and daughter tied up. The doctor tosses Adam his wallet so he can see his family. He finds a Polaroid with a cryptic message written on the back that leads to them finding a hidden box with a cigarette, a lighter, a cell phone that can only receive calls, and a note telling the doctor to poison Adam with the cigarette. Flashback to Detective Tapp obsessively watching the Jigsaw tapes. He finds a clue that leads them to Jigsaw's hideout. However, he escapes and ends up killing Detective Singh. Tapp is now full-blown obsessed with the case and is convinced the doctor is the killer. He stakes out the doctor's house and is later revealed he hired Adam to tail the doctor and take pictures of him. We get a couple more flashbacks and see how the doctor and Adam were both abducted by someone wearing a pig mask. The doctor pretends to dip the cigarette in the poisoned blood on the floor and whispers to Adam to smoke the cigarette and pretend to die from the poison. He does, but is shocked by the chain, and it's revealed he's still alive. The little girl calls Dr. Dad on the phone, and the mom tells him not to believe Adam. Adam knows who he is. Adam explains he's been tailing the doctor, shows him several pictures that were also found in the toilet. Among them is a picture of Detective Tapp took of Zepp, a hospital orderly that works with Dr. Gordon, looking out of Gordon's front window. Dr. Gordon is mega pissed at Zepp. It is now 6 o'clock. Zepp calls the doctor and makes his wife say, "Time is up, motherfucker." They wrestle, and the doctor hears several gunshots over the phone. Detective Tapp also hears the shots from across the street, and he intervenes. The wife and daughter escape to the neighbors, and Tapp follows Zepp to the hidden bathroom lair. Dr. Gordon can't reach the ringing phone, and he ends up sawing his own foot off. He crawls over to the gun, grabs it, shoots Adam. Detective Tapp and Zepp fight at the warehouse, and Zepp shoots him. Zepp walks into the bathroom and says Gordon was too motherfucking late. As he's about to shoot him, Adam gets up and bashes his head in with a toilet cover. Dr. Gordon crawls away and promises to get help. Adam searches Zepp for a key and finds a tape player. He listens to the tape, and it reveals Zepp is not the mastermind behind this. He's just another pawn in Jigsaw's game. The corpse that's been laying on the ground the entire movie slowly stands up, removes some bloody makeup. They woke Daddy. He removes some bloody makeup from his head, and we get another flashback revealing that John Kramer, a.k.a. Jigsaw, has an inoperable tumor, and Dr. Gordon was his doctor. Kramer has become tired of people who aren't grateful to be alive, so he creates these games to make them grateful should they survive. Jigsaw then says, "Game over," and closes the bathroom door, leaving Adam chained up alone in the dark to die. Roll credits.
Ba, ba, ba. Ba, 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 ba.
That's on your Smash playlist, right? We put that on when we really start going to town.
That song took the fucking world by storm for like a decade. Like it was, I think they reworked it for like Lord of the Rings or some shit. Like it was all over the fucking place.
And commercials.
Yeah, it was a huge fucking.
Yeah,
it was definitely in a Little John song that we used to bump.
Bone Crusher and Little John.
I
don't know if it was that one, but yeah, it was in a Little John song.
Bone Crusher.
There's one that we bumped pretty reg. I don't think Bone Crusher was in it, but yeah.
God damn.
Yeah. So yeah, this movie's fucking iconic. Which is pretty amazing, man. It had a really small budget, and it was James Wan and Lee Whannell's like breakout movie, and like what a way to break out.
Will say I completely forgot James Wan did this when I started watching it and it said James Wan. I was like, holy fuck. I just I just in my mind, Insidious and The Conjuring are what live there now. And then I was thinking to myself, Jesus Christ, this man, love or hate these films and what they've spawned, started 3 modern classic horror franchises.
He's a franchise machine. He really is.
That is insane.
Didn't he move on to Guardians? Was that him?
No, James
No,
Wan?
that's not him.
No,
What did he do in the Marvel universe? He did something.
No, he didn't. He did Aquaman, and he's also doing some Fast movies. He did some Fast and Furious movies.
He did Fast 7, the one where Paul the guy
dies. Yeah,
Paul
Walker.
Yeah, blanking on his name. So yeah, this franchise is the 5th highest grossing horror franchise with over $1 billion to its name, and the Conjuring franchise is currently sitting at the number 1 highest grossing horror franchise with over $2 billion.
Damn, dude, that's nuts.
That's the biggest doink there is.
James Wan rolling in that horror dough,
dude. Yeah, the man. Knows what he's doing.
He has got a career in this business.
Yeah. So that was cool too. I like just kind of revisit. I just doesn't live in my mind that James Wan was involved in this, and that was cool to be like, oh fuck yeah, James Wan did this. Damn, this is like his first movie, right?
Yeah, his first feature length film. Yeah, and he and Lee Winnell were like, they're Australians. If you didn't know, that they were living in Australia trying to sell this movie for a couple years. It wasn't happening, so they came over to Los Angeles, decided to shoot just like an 8-minute like a scene from the movie to help sell it. They eventually were able to sell it, and it was clearly a massive success. And they started churning one out every single Halloween for like the next 8 years or something like that. And it also jump-started like a massive wave in horror. What's I guess most commonly referred to as torture porn, or also gorno is a shorter way to say it.
Gorno? No, we're not saying that. We are.
I don't want to coin that particular term.
Then.
Yeah, let's stick with that one.
Yeah. For better or worse. So David Edelstein, he's the writer for New York Magazine. I guess he was the first. He coined the phrase torture porn, and he was specifically talking about Eli Roth's movie Hostel, which came out a year after Saw, but it was like sort of retroactively applied to Saw in the giant fucking franchise that it is, which is understandable, honestly.
It's understandable, but I don't know if I think Hostel is far more deserving of coining that phrase. I don't know. There's a lot more. Not a lot, but there's more going on under the surface besides the gore in this movie than there is in Hostel. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. I mean,
also, it's not just I think it's because this film came out and it was only 2001. When I think of this film and also the 2000s, you do have some things, we reference like Underworld and stuff a lot, but the griminess too, just like everything's fucking dirty and filthy. So even aside from just the torture aspects of it, or even the griminess of the traps, you got this fucking trap and it looks mechanical, it's fucking rusty, those kind of aspects I do associate with this film, making those types of aesthetics like popular. So even if Hostel is more deserving of torture porn, I really do think Saw changed the aesthetic, changed the mentality of like brutality and stuff like that. So yeah.
I do agree with that. Yeah, no, and I there's a huge crossover. Don't get me wrong. I just mean like in terms of like earning the words torture porn to be applied to your film.
Yeah,
I don't know that this movie really truly does that on the same level as other movies later, including Saw, or including Hostel. Rather,
I think the franchise grows to earn it. I don't know that I'd really say like this first movie does, but I think it gets there for sure. And yeah, this movie does have that like really grimy like. I hate how this movie's edited so much, but it looks like a shitty new metal music video, like a Static X video or something.
Yeah,
it's green
in more ways
hell.
than one.
It's like, I know we talk about Underworld being blue ass movies. This is a green fucking movie.
Yeah,
dude, I was telling y'all when I revisited Ring, the American version last year when I was covering on A Cut Above or whatever, I was blown away at how fucking green and teal it would blew my fucking mind.
Unbelievably.
And going
in particular, that movie more than any other, it had like takes that mantle for me of being the most overly color corrected film in the history of films, as far as I've seen.
But you're right. Yeah, this one is very green, but also, I mean, to give the guy credit, it is his first film and it was 2001. So a lot of the things that become tropes probably came out of this. But even, a lot of the editing choice now looking back 20 years later feel very cheap and, like you said, new metally.
Dated as hell.
The fucking shaking around just makes me think of a Tool.
The Jacob's Ladder shake.
A Tool video, man. It just looks like fucking Tool videos.
Hyper fast motion. Yeah, the editing, man. It really, really is. It does. It suffers from that thing where you create something almost, or like you make something iconic to where it's repeated ad nauseum.
Yeah.
And then everybody looks at you the same way as all those repetitive, pretenders. So to say.
My favorite use of the shitty like quick edit like spazoid cam is towards the end of the movie where you got Danny Gloves in a heated car chase with Zepp, and they're clearly just sitting in the car not driving anywhere, but the camera's freaking the fuck out. Like I thought that shit was hilarious. Like they're not going anywhere.
Well, and it's rough too because here's I mean, you know, we could say he maybe started it and other people ripped it off. And also you got to give credit because, you know, as we said, super low budget and stuff like that. People didn't want to buy this. And so I will, but at the same time, I can also point to similar style films and directors doing a similar type of low budget stuff and doing these types of edits better. Like I personally think of Guy Ritchie doing films like Lock, Stock, and stuff where you have some quick edits like that. Also, oh God, what's it?
Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright. Yeah, Shaun of the Dead and stuff. Yeah, it's so. I mean.
Sorry,
you can critique and not, you know, I kind of go back and forth. I teeter back and forth where I'm like, ooh, but then I give it some grace, but then I'm also like, well, you know, so yeah, back and forth.
It's just weird to experience now. But also I want to like in that same vein, I wanted to point out that I kind of feel like watching it this time, something occurred to me that hadn't really before, which is that I kind of feel like this movie, like kind of aesthetically and the way it's written and everything, it's like they watched Seven and just took only the surface level lessons and just slapped a new coat of paint on it, specifically green, and then released it. Like it's got the incredible twist, a really good twist, but it lays all the groundwork for it so that you could theoretically deduce it. It does all these things, and it's got like a lot of moving parts, a lot of red herrings, a lot of things to keep you on your toes, but there's too much of that. And it makes it kind of hard to follow it the way that you follow Seven. It's a little less focused. It's a lot less focused than that movie. But I can't help but feel like that movie's got the grime. The intro of that movie is legendary. The title sequence, because of how grimy it is and the way that it like displays things and tells a little bit of the story in that. And they kind of do a little bit of that here too. So I really think that there was a lot of Fincher going into this movie from the beginning.
Yeah, that's probably fair to say. The way that this movie, like the way the story is told via like flashbacks, there's so many fucking flashbacks in this movie. And like, I get that you don't want to spend the entire film in this one bathroom, because it would get hella boring. But like, it feels like belabored. Like you just keep going back and back and back. Like, did that bother you guys at all? Did it feel like too much? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Definitely. Because one thing, so this is a weird film in that I haven't experienced it for a long time because it just lives in my mind as a classic. And I know the beats pretty well. I've seen it well enough. And so this is honestly the first time I've revisited it in, I don't know, maybe close to 10 years.
Since we were in my bedroom.
Oh, wow.
Well, no, not since then, but I'll talk about some other instances where I've seen it. But the thing that kind of stuck with me this time is I've seen all of these films. I've seen, several of them many times. And coming back to this one, what Randy was kind of saying about Seven, I was kind of surprised at a couple things. One, I was actually pretty surprised at the lack of traps, or the traps that were actually featured in this, because really, honestly, it's the reverse bear trap. And that's the iconic one that they luckily stuck, because the puzzle aspects of the bathroom are honestly pretty weak. And the other two are very just Seven feeling, where you have this big guy, but he's like in his underwear.
It's punishing them for sins.
Yeah, and he's crawling through the barbed wire, and it kind of reminded me of like the big guy who's forced to eat or whatever, just because like they're bigger guys and they're in no clothes or whatever.
Well, that guy was specifically punished for attempting suicide. Yeah, which is I don't know. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off though.
No, so I this time I honestly was, and the other one was so not doable, where he's covered in this
flammable
flammable thing on his whole body, and he has to hold a tea light candle. Man, those things don't last more than 10 minutes. Yeah. There's no way that you're not going to catch on fire. Well, so I honestly was kind of surprised that at the kind of lack of traps in this one, or what was featured, because the reverse bear trap is really the only one that kind of sticks it, honestly.
I think so, yeah.
It might come as a surprise to you, but Jigsaw's not really trying to help anybody. He's just trying to fucking kill folks.
That's interesting about that. Like, in my mind, having, like, when I watched the sequels to this movie, it had been a while since I'd seen this at the time, this original. But and it's been a while since I've seen those now. But when I watched, like, 3, 4, 5, like, I think I watched up to 5. And in those ones, it just felt like hyper mean, where it was just all puzzles, none of which were doable. And I was like, this isn't like in the spirit of what Jigsaw was supposed to do. And I was like really on my bullshit about that. But that's not really true. You're totally right. These are pretty inescapable. Yeah. And like, there's no amount of like brute force that'll keep that candle from burning you alive. There's very unlikely that anybody survives. And I guess that's part of it. But it just seemed like, to me, like, they later in this franchise position him as like a deity of this. He's so good at it that everybody has to learn from him, and all the other bullshit was just because other people involved were fucking up. But that he just kind of sets people up to fail exclusively, it seems like.
He presents these traps, these things that he builds as righteous acts, like he's trying to teach them to appreciate what they have. It's really just self-serving, and it is from the start of this movie. The very first scene in this movie, which I know it gets retcon and all this other shit's added, but we're just talking about this movie. The movie opens up with a key floating in the tub that would unlock Adam's chain and let him go free. And Jigsaw wanted him to have that key, but it goes down the drain. And if Adam would have had that key, he would have unlocked himself and walked out the door
immediately.
And then 6 o'clock would have happened, and then the doctor wouldn't have been able to kill him because he would have left. And then the doctor gets.
But how would he know that key was?
Which is what he wants. That's really what he wants at the end of the day.
Yeah, he wants, like, an uphill battle's one thing, but this goes well beyond that. Like, he sets them up to fail and then just sort of like gleefully watches, and over time it becomes this thing where his reputation is that of, like, or at least maybe it's just because of the way the acolytes treat him in later entries into this, but like he's treated with such reverence, both contextually and out of the context of the film, that it feels like, I don't know, it feels like a betrayal when I watch it now, and it's not like that at all.
So I had that same exact reaction because I have this specific memory stuck in my mind. I think I think it's maybe Saw 6, where there's this trap and they advertised it even, where people were on this kind of carousel and only like one got away. And I remember so specifically in my mind thinking, this is bullshit, because the original Jigsaw it was a personal test and you had to overcome it. And if you were good enough, you could live or whatever. And this is just bullshit because these people are just strapped in. They can't escape. Yeah. But then the dude's holding the wife and the kid. Yeah. And I was thinking to myself, why did I think that? What's going on? Yeah.
The whole thrust for Gordon is that he's trying to save his fucking wife and child.
Yeah.
I did not remember that. Yeah. From getting shot in the head by fucking Ben Linus. And in the later, that exact one, we must have had a conversation about this at the time, because I definitely remember having the same feelings towards it. And it was like that one in particular. I remember there being like, oh, this is your maid. If you can tell me her name, she lives, or like, I don't know. That's but like some shit like that, where it's like,
you had
that lady had no choice in this. She's an innocent comparatively. Like,
exactly.
What is her game? How does she get to survive? She doesn't. Either she's chosen or she's not by someone else.
So used as a pawn in somebody else's game, and they have no say. And so, that really bothered me at the time. But it's the same exact thing here. The wife and the kid, they can't do anything about it. Yeah.
If you if you really consider, like, Jigsaw is high on his bullshit, like really fucking high on his bullshit. But if you consider, like, what's really happening, like, the dude has an inoperable tumor. He's gonna die. There's nobody can help him, and he's pissed off about it. He sees all these people around him sinning, and in his mind, he's like, why the fuck am I dying when these pieces of shit get to live? So he just kills them without killing them so that he can feel fine with what he's actually doing. It's complete bullshit.
Yeah, but in order to do that, he has to arrange the murders of innocent
others.
Children.
I know.
Yeah.
So, like, what the fuck? Like,
Well,
John
because
Kramer's
he
eat
also-
my ass.
Yeah.
I think this is like kind of a perfect, like, modern day type of slasher movie. I was thinking about, like, all the sort of, like, implied conservative morality in, like, golden era slashers, and, like, you know, if Scream so eloquently laid them out, like, if you drink, if you do drugs, if you bang, you know, do all these things, you die. And, like, to a certain degree, like, John Kramer murders these people for those exact same reasons. In this movie, reasons people are put in these traps are infidelity, the doctor, drug use, the girl that ends up surviving, attempted suicide is the bigger dude with all the razor wire, and my personal favorite is the dude with the candle, health insurance fraud. That's all he fucking does.
What the fuck is
I thought
that?
that shit was fucking hilarious, dude.
I mean, it is. It's an interesting angle, though. Like, you're saying that, like, it's almost a subversion of that trope by having the punishment being dealt out be like...
It's no longer implied. It's no longer subtext. It is the text. He records specifically why you have fucked up and why you're going to die right now.
Yeah.
And you have to hear that and, like, try and get yourself out of this situation. So, like, it's just kind of like an evolution of that.
I'm having more and more of a hard time separating. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was also going to say, because it's also highlighted in this movie to me where he's bad at it, because Gordon doesn't even cheat on his wife.
Yeah.
He's thinking about it. Yeah, he's thinking about it, and he goes there, but he turns her down and saying, like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. And he's punished for what Jigsaw thinks that he's done. It's like, so you've been stalking this motherfucker to throw him in a trap. And that's the thing, is by the time that he's taken, he's already being stalked and watched, and a trap has been planned for him to the point where you're going to have multiple people involved, and he hasn't even done anything.
And then let's also talk about fucking Ben Linus, who, as far as we know, has no sin. He's another pawn but like, he just has, like, something hanging over his head. I can't remember what it is, but
they don't tell you.
They do not tell you at all.
They just say he has his own tape. Like, when they find his dead body, he's got his own tape playing. You're like, oh shit, what is it? Like, you don't know. Yeah.
Using him is so fucking, like, counter to everything that John Kramer's supposedly doing, because, like, he's the guy that stuck up for him. Like, he's the orderly in the hospital who was like, this is a real guy. You should talk about him with respect or whatever, to Gordon, who's a little flippant about it, just a little bit. And he's like, protects this guy's honor, and then gets involved into a conspiracy to murder children. So I don't know that John Kramer should get any sort of, like, I don't know. I'd almost rather fucking Jason Voorhees just beat somebody with a fucking, I don't know, with anything, really. Yeah, I'd rather watch a machete slaying. It's
more honest. Like, this guy's just murdering people, but he refuses to, like, own up to it. He's they kill themselves. You know, I gave them every opportunity to get themselves out of these situations. They just have to help themselves. You know, it's
having such a hard time now. I'm having such a hard time now separating this movie and John Kramer in particular from John Doe from fucking
Seven.
Like, the more I think about it, the more it's clear that what they were trying to do here was make Seven on a template of a slasher movie. And it's pretty sloppy, man. Honestly, like, if you get down to nuts and bolts, it doesn't pack the same, like, resonance, because, like, this guy has no actual principles. Like, I like that, honestly. Upon any.
I think it works for me because, like, this dude is fucking dying and his doctor can't fucking save him, and he's pissed, and he wants to torture the shit out of his doctor. Like, so he does.
You know what's lacking, though? you know what would bridge the gap for me to get where you are right now completely is just a little bit more time with John Kramer. Like, and I know that we get more in sequels, and I also know that it would probably ruin the surprise. So I get that. But like, just from a narrative standpoint, I like just knowing why he feels this way or getting an impression that he is warped beyond just like that even his scruples are flawed, but he can't see it because he's that deluded. Like getting that impression goes a long fucking way. I wish there was a way for them to write that in there. And honestly, you said something earlier that I just wanted to circle back to real quick, which is it would be boring if they were all in the same room. Not necessarily. Bottle movies can fucking rule. And I kind of wish this was that.
I didn't say that. I said it would be boring if the entire movie was set in that one bathroom. But if they were all in the same room, then it would be more interesting than just those two. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, you can have that conversation. Like so much happens off camera in bottle movies. You don't even get to meet key characters in those things. Like you don't have to meet his wife. You don't have to really meet Ben Linus. You don't have to do any of those things.
Those movies often rely on like pretty good acting too, and this movie doesn't have any of that. Like none of that.
That's correct.
Dude,
terrible.
That was one of the thing I was gonna kind of touch on too, because, and also, man, this really watching this, going back to times I'd watched it, honestly really kind of shouts out to the Godfather Jack, because I was remembering us mocking Gordon's performance, especially at the end, and we always used to say, "I'll be right back. I promise. I promise." Like we used to say that shit all the time.
I promise. I promise. I promise.
Dude, that is bad. Bad. It's so bad. But yeah, we used to always, Jack too, he would say that shit and fucking bust a guy laughing right out. Like we thought that shit was so funny. And it came flooding back to me of, it didn't really necessarily stick out in my mind. Oh yeah, the acting in this is really bad, but it is.
Dude, yeah.
It is really bad.
Like Danny Gloves, and like Carrie Elways, like can act. They have acted very well in other movies, so like it's just not working out here. I give one
last week. Except last week, I was giving Carrie some shit too, because he was pulling down the movie last week as well.
He's not flawless, okay. Lee Winnell, I give a bit of a pass, but that dude is not an actor. He's a writer.
Yeah, him doing
is he the guy who's playing Adam?
Adam, yeah.
Okay,
Adam.
I see, yeah.
Like he has his moments. Like I think, like when he's playing subdued, he does all right. But when he does like anything that's supposed to be like comedy or whatever, when I was a kid, it worked for me. It doesn't work for me now. I've just seen too much, and it just doesn't.
I've seen
it's too that over the top acting, like be scared, and so he's erratic and freaks out, but it just feels very heavy handed and forced. But man, old Gordon, he drops out when he's also freaking out about his family, it's just, he's not doing a good job.
Dude, his screaming is hilarious. It is fucking funny.
I promise.
Promise.
Oh man. Yeah.
Don't like
I don't know, man.
But also too, the cop who's got his neck slashed. Now he's going ham, but it's got this weird tone, where it's kind of exploitation cheesy feeling almost.
Yeah. That's the thing, is it's kind of bridges the gap with like over the top is kind of what this movie does. So it almost feels weird to critique that in the acting alone. But at the same time, like, I don't know, like part of me thinks that this movie was going for something better than what we got, and part of me feels like it's going for exactly what we got. And in that frame of mind, I think it works great. Like we've been criticizing the shit out of it because we're bringing our higher thinking to it a little bit, rather than just letting it wash over us in a little fun little like romp. We're actually being analytical towards it, and it's suffering for that. I mean, that's how schlock kind of is, a lot of the time.
Well, and the thing is too, and actually, maybe I shouldn't say, but I revisited 7 not too long ago. I did even a poll where I wanted to, it was like thrillers, and 7 was in there or whatever. And so I've seen it, and going back, as we said, I think 7 holds up probably better in its overall logics and structure and acting. Definitely, there's still some stuff going on there, but you got fucking Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt and shit. So it's definitely on a higher level that way. And this one feels a little more schlocky, like that one's, it's a thriller, where this one's just like, no, we're just gonna make some grimy ass horror. And in some ways, that's respectable and appreciated in some ways, but also too, like you said, when you go in and you just kind of have this mentality. We even mentioned at the beginning of like, maybe you don't even need to revisit the Saw sequels, or I actually think the trilogy holds up pretty consistently with this movie. And honestly, they do some things better, like the way that the traps are formed, and you actually have to like sacrifice something. Like there's the one where the dude has to, like, if you want to get the key, you got to cut out your eye, or so, something like that. And you actually have to put something forward. And so in some ways, some of the sequels do some of these ideas a lot better. But I think that this franchise is kind of thought about in that kind of way. I guess it lives up to its legacy, where people are kind of split on this, where some people think like it's kind of trashy, the Saw franchise, it's really just trash.
It's trash.
Yeah.
I mean, it is trashy. Yeah. They hit a 3D installment, for fuck's sake. I mean,
I keep it in this like mid-level. I feel like this franchise is kind of like the Friday the 13th of this day, where they're all pretty consistently about where they need to be. Not a whole lot of them elevate to something much higher. I do personally prefer the Friday the 13th franchise. I think there's higher highs there, but I see this in a similar kind of way, where people are like, Saw, and I'm like, honestly, they do get pretty low in some ways, but they're all kind of like consistently samey, They are. They're very they're homogenous as fuck. And I mean, they're a product. They were made to be homogenous because that's what people wanted to see. They're like, they literally advertised. I remember this trailer like so clearly, them being like, it's Halloween, that must mean there's another Saw coming. And it's just repetitive. Like that is what Friday the 13th does. It is absolutely like a horror franchise in the most 80s sense of the word, but writ for the 2000s. And
Halloween
for that,
is
on that
Saw.
Level, right? Yeah, Halloween is Saw. That's right. So like, I don't know. There's nothing about this that I think elevates it beyond that, and maybe I'm foolish for even trying to dig into it that way.
I want to talk about
Go ahead,
I never really like thought much about Saw. Like it's a popcorn movie, whatever, but we're going to review it. So I started thinking about it, and I went down this like rabbit hole, starting with like the puritanical aspects of like slasher movies and how that evolved to this movie. And then I started thinking about the context of when this movie came out. And I think it's kind of important to touch on, as uncomfortable as it may be, considering that like this movie came out shortly after 9/11, like 3 years after 9/11. And like, sure, James Wan and Lee Winnell are Australian, but they wrote this movie in 2001, tried to get it made in Australia. They came over to the States. Somebody finally picked it up and allowed them to go ahead and make it. And like, I was thinking about like how John Kramer operates. And like 2002, you had people showing up to Guantanamo Bay, and we all know the heinous torturing that happened there. And like, I have to believe, sure, they're from Australia, but that had to make its way over there. They had to be aware of it, maybe subconsciously. I don't know how intentional it is, but like, considering John Kramer in this movie and how he's like really leaning into these like puritanical ideas and like preaching these ideas to, we found out, all of his disciples, all the while still just like torturing the shit out of some folks. Like, it just really sort of encapsulates that like post 9/11 America. And like, that's an interesting thought. I don't know. I feel like intentionality is a stretch for that. Maybe not. But as a lens, I think it's interesting. Yeah. As a lens, it is. I think intentionality, I wouldn't necessarily attribute to that. I've never heard them say as much. So no, Right. So what I would say though is it's following the type of kind of mentality and trend of the time, which in some ways was kind of made popular by movies like Seven. But on top of that, we talked about this in our coverage of Fight Club that I did with Matt on Creature Comforts, where that was 1999. And
you have this generation who in some ways have it kind of better than previous generations, but there's also this kind of like disenfranchised with the 9-to-5s and feeling, a generation that has no war or no purpose or no path. And people are just self-destroying themselves to feel something or to feel like that they matter in some way. And so that kind of aligns more with the idea of this John Kramer of, I'm going to give you some purpose. I'm going to really enrich your life. I'm going to make you feel like you matter.
But he
and you
just wants to kill people.
Right.
He doesn't
absolutely.
It's supposed to be like positivity by way of cynicism. Like in a weird way, like it's upsetting the apple cart because we're all already kind of upset with the apple cart, and it's just taking it to its grimiest, most extreme conclusions because we are desensitized to the point that, people think Friday the 13th is cheesy by this point, very cheesy. At this point, horror movies are like dog shit to people's ears. Like they don't want anything to do with it on a critical level for the most part, because it's just like, it's not because it's gory. It's not because it's cheesy, and because it's the cynical mind that was going on at that time, even as much as now, probably. It was so thick that you needed to take it to extremes people did not anticipate you seeing in order for them to sit back and like allow the story to come over them, maybe at least on a large scale, like this movie managed to reach, or this franchise. So I don't know that I feel like there's definitely some like extremity that came out of like years of violence and like increasing violence, even like in 99, even like you're saying, like think of like fucking Woodstock 99, marred by violence. We're back to Altamont, people, except there's no bikers here. There's just fucking teenagers and shitty capitalists. Like that's it. That's all it really takes. And so a lot of disenfranchisement, like Justin said, plus the absolute horror of fucking a like major skyscraper in a major American city toppling and watching people fall to their fucking deaths. It had an impact. Of course we were more apt to see something more extreme, as long as it was extreme enough to distract us from the extremes of our own lives.
Sure. And I think if that event did not directly influence this movie, it sure as shit directly influenced a ton of other horror movies.
Well, it influenced the next decade of horror. In a way, it's kind of like a cultural self-harm, talking about Randy's point of, what you see and what you experience and trying to kind of cope with that in some way, because it is this kind of cultural self-harm of grimy, dirty, just as gritty and painful as possible, show people's heads getting ripped open and show, that kind of stuff. It's kind of weird to think about, honestly, from a psychological level.
This movie is like forced self-harm, because you have to save yourself. In order to do that, you have to harm yourself. And it has this kind of like this real bullshit, like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, kid. Like, I've given you everything you need to get yourself out of your situation. You just have to help yourself. But at the end of the day, John Kramer doesn't give a fuck if you die, because you're just a drain on society anyways. You're a drug addict. You're trying to commit suicide. You're defrauding the health insurance. Like all these bullshit reasons. He doesn't shed a tear that you didn't learn the lesson. He doesn't give a fuck about you.
Well, even if you do, there's no reward other than his self-righteous bullshit of I saved you.
Become under his tutelage is what happens. Like, they're so fucked up, they just like follow in his footsteps. Apparently, that's all that really happened.
These traps, they're not designed for you to survive. They're designed for a very slim chance of you possibly surviving. And then the people who do, just absolutely, because of the trauma, then it moves down the pipeline a little bit. But within the context of this movie, like, what's her, Shawnee Smith's character, Amanda, she's like, he saved me, and does the he saved me thing. And I'm like, that man, like, there's something really psychologically horrible about that. Like,
now I would like to touch on an interesting aspect of talking about the psychology of us and what this film kind of does. Now, this is kind of interesting, spawning off our talk about the cultural self-harm and stuff like that. Now, we all have experienced this film separately. We've experienced it in our own viewing, and we've gone through the sequels and kind of the way that the sequels have shaped our minds. We all having seen this movie several times, we're thinking back like, oh no, John Kramer, he's more righteous than that. He wouldn't just put somebody in self-harm's way unless they had a way out. And then we go back to the original and we're like, oh wait, what the fuck? Like, yeah, that type of psychology is almost this propaganda, because we go through these sequels where these people hold John Kramer in this type of, reverence, and they're continuing on his work, and we see them as fault, like, you're not as good as John Kramer, you're not doing it that way, and then going back and being like, whoa, wait a second,
there was never a right
completely way wrong. Yeah, that's a fucking wild to me, honestly.
I never really thought that much about it necessarily, or like,
oh really,
or
okay,
like cared too much. I was like, yeah, they're traps. I'm here to see some crazy traps. Like, that's what Saw becomes, really. Like, after the first one, like, I don't really care too much about the characters, or like who's the next apprentice is, or like who returns from the grave. Like, I don't really give it a shit, to be honest.
You can say that, and that's interesting, but like, you got to also bear in mind that the gore is not the only thing that defines this movie. What also, or the traps, none of that stuff. It's the twist, man. Like,
this movie,
like, so like the story
we
does
need to talk about that.
I think it diminishing returns on that as the franchise goes on, of course, because that's the nature of twists and the nature of the way film went through that era where everything had to have a twist. But like, I don't know, man. It just seems like there's more to dig into, I guess, than you would have like about our psychology and how we fucking observed this, than just like us looking back on it now. It's also the way that the movies themselves progressed it. I think that like the reverence for John Kramer as time went on, both as fans and as characters in a cult in the movies, like, I think that they kind of just over time, it just sort of like overtook the way we thought about John Kramer. Like, I kind of agree with Bob. Like, when I first watched this movie, I didn't really think too hard about the morality of it. I wasn't really thinking about it. I was like, oh wow, was that guy crazy? Oh, and that's his reason. Okay, that's fine. And I never really dug into it. But as I'm looking back, and I'm like, oh wait, he was never right. And all these complaints I had about him later were just a byproduct of like the movie and culture deifying him, or the fandom, I guess, deifying him in some way. And I don't know. I think that it might just be a byproduct of how the overall story was told.
Yeah.
Yeah, that ending
I would like
is iconic, though. Like, one of the most memorable endings of, I don't know, our lifetime, I would have to say, of like horror movies specifically. Like, that shit is
It's up there with Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense, yeah.
Sixth Sense started that craze, but man, did Saw really pick it up.
Yeah.
What?
Well, that's carrying off
significantly later, but sure.
Yeah. So I want to share my experience of watching this. So I remember, Bob, you showed this to me, and it was, for some reason, we weren't watching it on your main TV. You showed it to me in your bedroom.
That's how it starts.
Yeah, maybe. That's what a boy likes.
Hey, come back here, watch this. Now, this sticks out in my mind. So the reason I asked if you remember this sticks out in my mind so vividly. This is like a permanent memory. I can see it all, almost like you're watching it from above. I remember the ending of this movie coming up, and me making this comment before the ending is revealed. So before John Kramer stands up, I made some comment along the lines of, can you imagine being that actor, just being paid to just lay there and be covered in blood or something? And literally, like a beat later, he fucking stands up, and I lost my goddamn mind. I was like, oh my God. Like, had a complete surprise. And like, Bob must have been like fucking holding it back, because that comment sticks out in my mind of like, oh, can you imagine being that actor, being paid to just lay there and you're covered in blood and makeup or whatever, and fucking stands up.
It's Jigsaw.
So, I mean, this ending, and with the music, perfect choice, really did just punch you in the fucking mouth, just like, woo. And I think that you have to give it credit for that, as much as like there are some flaws in this and some budget restrictions from setting up some things, even with these weak points of like, wow, this acting is not good or whatever. This lives in our fucking minds of, oh shit.
It's a pivotal scene.
Yeah.
I think more than any other impact this movie had is it really pushed forward the twist craze that was happening at the time. It really propagated that. It did a lot of things that were unique to this movie that we've already talked about. But that, like, if people remember this movie, it is for the twist. If there's one thing they remember, it is the twist. So
and they try to keep that going, and it's too much less success.
It's diminishing returns like crazy. And because the thing is, like, you can't twist when you're expecting a twist. That's why culturally it fell off, because everybody's like, okay, so what's the twist? Yeah. Oh, I figured it out because I'm only thinking about what the twist is going to be. Like, that's what happened to Shyamalan. That's what happened to some degree. That's what happened.
But it does affect. I mean, twist movies also too. They don't live up as I remember when we covered Sixth Sense, and I was just like, it just doesn't have the same impact. It's almost trying to relive that thing that you had experienced the first time, and you just can't. And so in that way, to me, it naturally feels less than. And so they just never live up to me.
I see. I at least partially disagree with that. See, to me, like, if you're going to Sixth Sense, I feel emotions. What's going on?
It's about time to
remember emotions. Bob,
sorry, Rob's doing sign language for some reason. I feel emotion. I feel a lot like I feel very like emotional at the end of Sixth Sense. That twist, whether I see it coming or not, packs a wallop. I think like it's cool to watch it knowing that that's coming now, but it's not like it only loses a little bit of impact for me. This movie. The rest of the movie, I'm like, I try to figure out where all the pieces are going, but in Joe Bob's words, the plot gets away in the way of the story. There's too many like red herrings at play. There's too many things that don't really truly add up, and it just doesn't reward you for looking into it.
Out of 5, Randy. Go on. How do you feel?
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I feel like this is a pretty flawed movie on a craft level. Like, I do think that it has a lot to offer culturally. I mentioned at the front that I have a soft spot for this, and it's because it meant so much to me growing up. It was like one of the like most gnarly and well seen movies in the horror genre at the time. It helped me like continue down the trend of seeing horror movies, even as I didn't like the direction of torture porn that this kind of begat. But like, I don't know. I as much as I have my qualms with it, I just can't help but like think fondly about this movie in all its flaws. It's like I said, it's like Seven, but done with the kind of filmmaking, filmmaking pastiche of like any dumb slasher movie from the 80s, just except they're doing it Seven style and with a specific aesthetic that it sort of defined, and with a absolutely A+ killer twist that knocks everybody's dick in the dirt, and everybody loved it. I loved it. It's a pivotal thing for us to have seen in the growth of horror movies over the years. And so I don't know. I'm very of two minds about this movie, and I think as much as I feel like it's a classic and I have a soft spot for it, I'm gonna split myself down the middle here and give it a 3.75.
3.75 from Randeezy.
Yeah.
Sweet deal.
4 is when I'm feeling very generous towards this movie, and 3 is when I am not feeling generous at all.
Juice, what about you?
Yeah, I feel in a similar kind of way. And honestly, watching it, like I said, hadn't revisited it in a long time. And I feel like the negatives were popping more than the positives this time around, honestly. And even honestly, it was in the back of my mind, but I didn't even go through the full process of saying like, oh, a lot of this is Seven or Fincher inspired. And so, yeah, that kind of affects it a little bit too, because it seems like it's even less kind of original, some of the ideas. However, we focused, I think, a lot towards the negative today. But so I will say positives. The use of the fucking song, that song's baller and it kicks ass and it's just perfect for the twist. The twist, I can't, erased that moment from my mind. I just remember it so well, and it was so fun. And so that is going to play a factor in, and also considering the cultural impact. For better or worse, this James Wan made his first film and turned it into this long running franchise that existed in the horror realm, for a long time, and still is kind of keep going. And that's something. I think the bear for the traps that hit, I think they're clever and interesting. And so, give some credit to that. Also, I mean, we didn't really talk about this. I feel like this highly inspired the trend, that came a little bit later on, but because of these films of the escape rooms, you got
I was going to say the same shit. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to look for some shit.
It had to impact that, right?
It had to. Yeah. Because even when I'm watching this, you're thinking, could I escape? Could I get out? Could I figure this out? And stuff like that. And that's what those test. So yeah, I mean, this had a huge cultural impact. James Wan, he knows how to take pieces and influences, like we talk about with The Conjuring and Insidious. A lot of the stuff he's doing there is almost returning back to basics. So it's not necessarily like he's doing a lot of original things. He's just he's putting the pieces together in a way that work really well. And I think in a lot of ways, he's doing that here too. So while it's not necessarily super original, I guess, he is crafting them in a way and putting them together that is impactful and memorable. And so, yeah, I'm kind of with you, Randy. I'm conflicted on this. But I think ultimately I'll give it a 4. But I too, like you, could see myself going lower on a bad day. I really do. And so for some reason, being kind of like forgiving and in the spooky season and remembering kind of what this franchise gave a little bit for so long, 4 I think is fair enough. But yeah, Bob, out of 5. Oh, yeah. Oh, Randy.
I already read
Sorry, I was just going to react.
I already wrote it down.
No, I'm not changing anything. I'm not changing anything. you bastard.
Hey, it's my turn to talk, though. Is that cool? Can I talk real quick?
Randy is muted.
There's gonna be some hell to pay here.
Bob's going to go first. You got to hold on to your point, Randy. All right,
hold on to your butts.
Out of 5.
Hey. So this movie has a shitload of iconic things going on for it. Billy the Puppet, we didn't really talk about him.
Oh, yeah, we didn't.
The design of the goofy-ass puppet in this movie is just as iconic now as like the Jason Voorhees hockey mask. People recognize that shit anywhere. Also, John Kramer's like gravelly voice saying, "I'd like to play a game," is also just as iconic. Is just as iconic as Ghostface saying, like, "What's your favorite scary movie?" Like, if anybody says, "I'd like to play a game," they know exactly what the fuck you're referencing. The ending, again, we've discussed, is extremely iconic. These, like, 3 things really cement this movie, like, hardcore in like, our brains, and that's primarily why we think, like, man, that's a fucking really badass movie. The traps are, like, interesting. It's kind of a fresh idea on a slasher movie. And he's got this, like, mythology behind him. The killer Jigsaw has got this mythology. Also, like, the pig masks are fucking terrifying in this movie. We didn't talk about that. And you get...
I didn't see any police.
Randy, there's plenty of cops in this movie.
There's plenty.
There's also, like, a couple instances of James Wan sort of flexing his, like, tension-building skills in this movie. Specifically the moment where Adam's walking throughout his apartment and he's got his camera, he's taking pictures, and the flash lights up his apartment. And some fucking pig mask motherfucker is going to jump out eventually, but you are losing your mind until it finally happens. Also, a really fucked up but pretty brief moment in this movie, one of the more fucked up moments actually, is when Zepp has a gun and he holds it in front of the little girl and then takes the stethoscope and puts it on her heart so he can hear her heart rate increase just to like entertain himself. Super fucked up. Also, like a great tension building moment because you have no idea what this maniac's going to do to that little girl. He's got a fucking gun in her face. So there's like a little hint of James Wan kind of doing what he develops and gets better at later on with The Conjuring and Insidious. The writing is extremely engaging. The story of this movie's really fucking interesting. The actors don't deliver. They just don't across the board. It's pretty damn bad. The editing is awful. The lighting, like the shaky cam shit, is just fucking terrible. Clearly, they have a super low budget. There's at one point they're supposed to be in like a parking garage for an apartment complex. It's clearly just a barn. The chase sequence within the cars, they're not driving anywhere. It's very obvious. Doesn't
their apartment look like a warehouse too?
It does. Yeah, it looks like a sound.
Industrial chic, Randy.
Yeah. Oh, sure. That's what it was.
The like goofy black and red cape that John Kramer wears around is like still kind of iconic, but like if he wore that in public, you stick out like a sore fucking thumb. Like people will be like, it's not Halloween. What the fuck is this dude doing?
You need that.
He just wears that in front of a mirror later.
You need that backwards cap. That's what you need.
Hello, kids.
Yeah. That's how you blend.
When the mom gets the gun from Zepp and she doesn't immediately cap his ass when he's threatening to kill her daughter is kind of frustrating. I don't believe that at all for a second. I think
we weren't as trigger happy back in the day, though, Bob. Dude, to be fair, lots changed in 20
Someone's threatening to kill your daughter. Like, I mean, come on, man. I think, like I said before, I think this is a really interesting like evolution to the like golden era slashers and how like that sort of subtext is just blatantly stated in this movie and how high Jigsaw is on his own bullshit, and like considering this movie like in when it was released, like in context of when it was released and like the implications of that. I think there's a lot to think about when it comes to Saw that I hadn't really considered before because it was just kind of a popcorn movie. For the most part, anyway, the franchise certainly fucking is. I guess I'm going to be a bit of a hater on the score because it's just like, it's really fucking rough around the edges, but I'm going to give it a 3.5 here. So like not too far below y'all, but lower.
That's so interesting because your review sounded more glowing than either of ours.
Yeah.
He makes some good callbacks.
Well, he did. I mean, he was a lot harsher. Like, this editing is garbage. It's garbage.
It's pretty rough to watch.
It is.
So that's going to put our aggregate at a 3.75.
Wow.
Randy, did you have
you had a point.
Yeah.
Nah, it's gone. If I don't say it right away, it's gone. So fuck it.
You robbed us. You robbed us of some.
Hey,
I was like the escape room thing, man. Like I don't know. There's a lot. This movie has a lot of fucking cultural impact, good, bad, and otherwise. Like I don't know. It's really kind of a flashpoint film.
Yeah,
and more so than a lot of like slasher movies that were comparable in previous decades. Like I don't know.
So
it just seems like so much was pulled out of this movie.
This, I agree. This movie was chosen by the one, the only librarian.
Oh, yeah.
And as we do encourage you guys, when you land a you pick, we want you guys to call in, leave a voicemail, or send us an email with your own rating and review. And the librarian shot us over an email. Let's hear what she has to say.
Hello, my favorite podcast boys. Here we all are, covering a pinnacle of 2004 cinema. Didn't this come out 2001?
4. Written in 2001.
Oh, written. Okay. Oh, well, then I was wrong earlier about some things. I think I kept referencing 2001. That's my bad. Okay, 2004 cinema. Damn, I am not on my game. James Wan's directorial debut, Saw. I famously cried 2 whole tears when I watched it in theaters because, oh my God. Lee Winnell, I gotta emphasize some of these things. Lee Winnell, as not only the one of the main writers, but also playing my number one baby girl, Adam. His scream at the end. Where is the Oscar? Whoa. Revoke my feminist card. Adam is the scream queen. Where to begin? Let's start with the fact that James Wan is playing 3D chess. This movie is fucking ridiculous in the context of 2023 that it's almost camp at this point. Like, oh, I'm sorry, you're addicted to heroin? Have you considered cutting someone open and also escaping a reverse bear trap to prove you want to live? Girl, what? Also, we didn't mention that. We didn't mention that too about you had to like kill the guy to get the key for the bear trap.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Oh,
I
yeah.
keep forgetting about that. Yeah. I once made my dad watch just the end of the movie because, damn, I wouldn't shut up about seeing it in theaters. And I looked like that one It's Always Sunny meme of Charlie yelling at the red string board. We've all been there. I vividly remember seeing the movie posters as a kid in the theaters and being fucking fascinated by the imagery they had. Say what you will about the sequel's quality, but those posters were always serving Jesus H. Christ. They altered my DNA and honestly got me interested in horror at too early an age. This movie will always reign supreme for me. This is a 5-star movie for me. I don't know what y'all will give it, but I hope that it's at least above a 3.5, Bob. Telling that line. Also, you can take my baby girl Adam to Cooter court for sure, but you cannot convict him, and I'll take it. Hugs and kisses forever. The librarian, they, she. All right. We got it.
Adam's our number one baby girl.
Scream quang.
Nice. Yeah. Thanks for picking this flick, librarian. Solid choice.
Yeah.
Long time coming, I would say. Long time.
Yeah.
We had a lot of positives for this.
I had forgotten that we covered some of those. I mean, I knew we did Spiral Forward. That was a mini cast though, but I forgot about Jigsaw. But yeah, this is one of those classics that's been on the list, and nice to knock it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Knocking it out the box. Cool. Well, let's go ahead and jump into our Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the critics and users think about Saw.
Certified fresh to death.
All right, we're going to make this pretty quick. We got us the Rotten Tomatoes segment. If you're new, what this means is I'm going to have these two gentlemen guess within the best of their abilities what the aggregate of positive scores are for both critics and users on RottenTomatoes.com. So for Saw, there are 191 critic reviews. I'll start with Juice today. Juice, where do you think those 191 reviews net out at in a percentage?
Honestly, I don't know. This one's kind of tough on the critic side. I feel like this is grimy enough and kind of exploitation enough to not be as high as it lives in people's minds, maybe. So on the critic side, I'm going to go a little lower. I'll say 65.
65. All right. Bob, how about you? What percentage is positive?
I could see critics hating this movie, but the ending is like so jarring. That's like the one potential like saving graces. I could see a lot of them really hating it though. It's super rough around the edges and gory, and the acting's just terrible. I'll take the under on the critics. You said 65. I'll just take a 60.
All right, 60 flat. Well, I'll tell you guys, one of you is only 10 percentage points off, and the other is way more. The correct answer is a flat dead center 50%. 50%.
Wow.
Bob's going to take this one with 60.
Right down the middle. Whew.
That's pretty low. I can only imagine what the sequels are getting then. Damn.
Oh, I'm sure it's great.
Like 30
Gotta be.
Great.
Damn.
All right, let's move over to our audience score. Trying to be quick about this. And of course, there we go. 250,000 plus ratings. So a large chunk of change there. Bob, we'll start with you this time. Where do you think those 250K land on this film? Users.
Yeah, this is definitely more for the users. So I'm gonna wager higher than the critics, and I'll take a 69, please.
69, fellas. All right. Juice, how about you?
I think it's gonna be higher than that. I think most audience members are gonna get a kick out of this, honestly. I think this is even one of those ones you can drag someone who's not really into horror And since it's more kind of gore, I think some people maybe can get past, it's not, some people don't really like ghosts or monsters or something. So I think you could toe the line here and people are still going to remember this ending. So what did you say, Bob 69 boys? I'll take I'll take 75.
75. All right. Well, 9 points off is the winner here. And that winner is Juice. 84% is the correct percentage.
Woo, that's
a gap of 30, almost 35 percentage point difference.
Yeah. This is definitely more of a crowd pleaser than a critic pleaser.
It is. It's like, well, I'm sure there's a lot of nostalgia for this. It was such a big hit with so many franchise sequels and all that stuff. But also, like, this is a punchy fucking movie. Like, it's very accessible in that there's never nothing going on. So I don't know, for better or for worse, that editing and everything else being criticizable on our end, it's something that keeps people watching and keeps people feeling like it's stylish and good. So clearly the scores reflect that. I'll read a negative review real quick. Sorry, Bob, go ahead.
No, you're good. Take it.
I'll read a negative review at random here, see if there's any humor in these reviews. Let's see. Having lifted itself up so high in some ways, it's a shame that in the end the film sinks down to the level of just being another dumb horror movie. I don't know what you
did they watch this movie?
Yeah. What lifted this movie up high? Like what about what?
There's ending brought it elevation down?
Yeah. It's just a dumb horror movie. What did you watch? What was the first 2/3 of this movie to you?
It was great until that end, let me tell you. Nobody's ever said that about Saw. No,
that's the most misanthropic version of a review I could possibly imagine. Oh, do one more. It's a far cry from the ridiculous gore-soaked torture fests the franchise has since become, but it isn't particularly good horror. Okay, well, that was lame. Sorry, everyone. There's too many negative reviews. Only a handful are gold, so we'll go panning next time.
Right on.
You know what I hate the most about Saw? That baller ending.
Yeah. Really drags it down.
I hate it when things are baller.
There's honestly not a ton of trivia on this one. I already mentioned some of it. We can skip
surprising.
We can skip over there. Yeah, I was a little surprised too, honestly. But let's go and get into our Cooter of the week.
Straight chillin'. Cooter of the week.
Juice, what is a Cooter? Why do we hunt them?
Oh, Cooter's character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a Cooter, and we want the Cooter with the most points. The 5 points of Cooterdom are sexual deviance, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall look and attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, I think we might have a decent amount of Cooters this week.
There are definitely some contenders.
The librarian said maybe we should consider Adam. I don't know. Do you think Adam's going to hit enough points?
I think so, but I think he's going to have stiff competition. Well,
sure.
let's address him first, though.
Okay. Patheticness.
Okay, so patheticness. Yes, he himself calls himself pathetic. I think at one point, or says he lives in a pathetic shithole or something like that.
Cool.
He's not too impressed with himself, so
get a better.
He doesn't have arrogance. You got to give him that. Not an arrogant guy. And I mean, he's skeevy as fuck. What does being basically a Nightcrawler-esque ghoul who photographs people without their knowledge, what does that qualify? What is a voyeur? Where does he hit on the spectrum for that? Like, there's got to be something.
Yeah, I mean, he's like spying on people, selling.
Is that just more pathetic?
Like,
I guess
it's kind of manipulative. I don't know.
It's kind of like a shitty private eye is how I was looking at it.
Yeah.
Also, too, he's terrible at it. If you're going to be spying on people, do not have your fucking flash on in an empty ass garage where you're the only other. What was that camera flash?
Probably nothing. Not a camera, that's for sure.
Attire is fine for the era. Nothing crazy there.
Sexual deviance, no.
No, I don't think so.
Maybe he's not going to have
has
enough.
more claim to that.
I don't think he's got enough.
Okay.
I don't think so either. You're right.
We can't convict, which is what the librarian wanted anyways. So
yeah. I think that Zepp is a little bit confusing to me. I kind of want to go for him, but I also don't think his character makes sense. I just don't think we know enough because, like, Rob, I think brought up him like threatening Gordon's daughter and like listening to her heartbeat and stuff, and that seems completely incongruent with what everything else we see about him.
Yeah,
and it's the most cootery thing he does outside of just like the other like just the kidnapping. So like there you can ding him for that, but it's also he has his tape. Theoretically, he's there against his will. That's the only time where you get the impression that he's enjoying this at all, and that's the Zepp I would convict, but I don't feel like he's a cohesive character enough for us to even claim that he's an archetype of any kind. He's just a red herring that fits the mold of whatever the movie needs in that moment.
Yeah, he's pathetic for sure. I think we can go
He
with
is.
that.
He's portrayed as that the kind of swirly guy that nobody, and then so maybe they hint at maybe that's why. Yeah,
he's not smug. I don't think he's got the sexual deviance. He doesn't seem to be arrogant either. Attire.
Yeah, we don't. The problem is we don't know his motivation, so we can't say that's what's making him tick or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I just don't think we have enough information, and I don't think the movie ever designed it.
We got to get to our boy John Kramer for sure.
John Kramer, smug arrogance.
Yes.
Checkaroony. Manipulation.
Check.
Yes.
I think he's got patheticness out there. I think John Kramer's a baby back bitch, to be honest.
Yeah, I think
he's just dying and is pissed and decides to kill people because he's dying.
God.
Like taking other motherfuckers out with him.
The thing is, he's a metastasized cynicism with the world or whatever, and like. I know I used several multiple syllable words there. I know. I'm here to impress.
I'm excited.
I can tell. Let's go to your bedroom. Watch Saw.
You want to come back here and watch Saw?
Set the mood. I heard you're in the feet.
Yeah, we're gonna go to your bedroom later.
I promise.
So yeah, sexual deviancy. We don't really get an impression of that. And look and attire. I think whoever it was, hit the nail on the head. That Dracula cloak. It is that's some spirit of Halloween bullshit, my guy. It's not not pulling it off for me.
Yeah.
So that's 4 points.
4 points, yeah.
Solid.
Oh, we got him.
Solid.
Put
Cooter.
John in chains.
John, you're going to Cooter jail, my guy.
We got him. We got
him.
Right. Good job there, fellers. Let's go ahead and maybe we can do a quick little what we've been watching this week. Let's do it.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
I'm glad you said that because I'm multiple backlogged weeks at this point.
Randy's backed up. He's ready to blow.
Well, we skipped it last week, so this is not going to be quick, Bob, no matter what you say.
Oh, shit. I will try to make this quick. I'm going to start with the absolute red letter news of the day. Completed the story of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Bravo.
Completed
Randy.
it. It's fucking great. And, the story's fine. No Zelda story's ever been fucking incredible, but it's always enough. Exactly what I wanted out of it. Ends on a high note for me. And then, after you defeat the main mission, you get to see what percentage of the game you've completed. I have completed in 190 hours of playtime, 72% of this game.
Oh my
Holy
Lord, Randy.
fucking shit.
That movie that game came out in May, and every week.
I know. That was intentional. I've been
yeah.
taking my time with this one, obviously, but Jesus Christ.
Damn,
and
dude.
I'm still going to keep playing it. All right. Several horror movies I watched, and I'm just going to go rattle them off in quick succession. The Devil All the Time. Never saw it. Had a good time with it. It's a little long in the tooth, as Bob might say.
Oh, yeah.
The Exorcist, original. Great fucking movie. Nothing else to say about that. We talked about it last year. The Nun. I threw The Nun on while I was doing some work. That is a dumb movie. Don't like. Barbarian. Do like. Very fun. Us. Rewatched Us. God damn, Tim Heidecker can do fucking anything. Next, we have Isolation, a 2005, I believe, Irish film. At least there's some Irish accents going on here, I think. And that one was a delightful surprise, a little bit of a confusing surprise because it has very little to do with the concept of being isolated from anything. It has a lot more to do with weirdo experiments, and it's kind of a nifty, The Thing-ish sort of thing, but not quite as high rent as The Thing. I recommend that movie, actually. Yeah. Renfield, I'm souring on a little bit. This is my third watch, and I think it's harder to overlook things now that the punch of some of those jokes has landed twice already. I think seeing it 3 times in a year was probably pushing it, so I'm going to give it a few years before I watch it again. I watched Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, which is not something I had seen before. Was spooky enough for me. It's a kids' family film, obviously. Those are familiar with Wallace and Gromit. It's that world. It's that sort of humor. It's that very British, very hideous claymation. Not hideous in the sense that the people are designed weird, and it's fun. It's in a fun sense. I actually love the way it looks. It's incredibly high, well done animation, and it's a fun story that actually surprised me on a couple beats. It kept the surprises coming. It kept me entertained. Had a good time. Psycho 2. Finally watched Psycho 2.
I just watched that too.
No shit.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do a mini cast because I have things to say.
It's interesting.
Interesting. Flawed. Moving on. Rewatched Sleepy Hollow, which I'm growing more fond of every time I see it. When I first saw it, I was pretty meh on it, and it kind of hovered in that zone for maybe 1 or 2 other watches, and this year is, I think, probably my 4th watch. And top and front to back, it's a much better movie once I sort of just use it as Halloween fodder. I think that helps this movie a lot. But I enjoy it. And then last but not least, I watched the first season of an Adult Swim show that I've been meaning to watch for a long time called The Heart She Holler, which is kind of like goofy comedy, Twin Peaks-ish intrigue, small town, short burst episodes. It's like an hour's worth of runtime for a whole season, and it's got Patton Oswalt and a bunch of other comedic actors doing just absolutely ridiculous nonsense shit. Think Too Many Cooks level humor. It's that sort of dark weirdo humor that doesn't make sense, and not making sense is kind of part of it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. There's 2 more seasons. I'm probably going to check those out. And that was as fast as I could do all of those. So there you go.
Bravo, Randy. Damn. Juice, what you been watching?
So many things. I watched Bride of Frankenstein for the first time, and it was good. It was good. There were some weird choices though, but overall I liked it and it held up well. I watched An American Werewolf in London. I don't think I'd seen that since we covered it a long time ago. And this time I had, I think, more fun with it. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that watch. I watched Dracula in 1958 for the first time. Old Cushing and Christopher Lee. And yeah, that one was good, but I'm getting a little kind of tired of vampires. I'm getting a little tired of vampires. I think we've done a lot of vampire stuff this year. And also, I've seen that fucking story of Dracula so many goddamn times. There's so many movies that play out the story of Dracula almost in the same way that I'm kind of just kind of need to take a break from it. Totally. Rewatch Hereditary, still fucking brutal and great. Dude, Ari Aster, man, that dude is, we say it every time. Jesus Christ. I watched a new Ninja Turtles movie in the theaters. It was a lot of fun. That animation style works so well.
Speaking of ugly characters.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun. I really love that. I haven't seen the newest Amazing Spider-Man, the sequel, or Spectacular, whatever, but I really enjoyed that first one. I think that style works really well for these kind of stories. So I really enjoyed that one. That was a lot of fun. I rewatched Green Room. Hadn't seen that one in a while. Also fucking brutal. Still really good though. That is a good movie. Very tense, immersive film. Yeah, that was good. Nazi punks. Fuck off.
Hell yeah.
Manhunter. I watched Manhunter for the first time. Never seen that one. A lot more stylized than I realized it was going to be. it may be a little too much, but yeah, there's some interesting choices going on in there. It was interesting to see what's that actor's name who's playing Hannibal. Different vibe
Brian
for sure.
Cox.
Yeah, Cox playing.
Oh, that's right.
He does a good job. It's just there's not as much Hannibal in there, and just a different kind of vibe. So yeah, it was interesting to see. Cool. I'm glad I watched it. I watched Island of Lost Souls. I was specifically inspired by something coming up that'll be coming up in October to watch Island of Lost Souls, and that was cool because it's interesting too because another thing I've been watching is the original Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? The first seasons, and Island of Lost Souls and Scooby-Doo have this horror, I guess, subgenre that we don't really get a lot these days, which is the haunted kind of tropical island, which is where a lot of like the tiki and stuff comes from. And so it was cool to see a kind of classic done in that style, in that setting. And it was fun to revisit that kind of horror vibe that we're not really getting these days. I watched a new vampire film called El Conde, which means the Count. This is on Netflix, is black and white. I like this one quite a bit. It's still got a lot of the vampire stuff going on, but it's got some really interesting things going on. Very stylized. Some of it I definitely could see as being seen as pretentious. It's in a couple different languages. Spanish, French, and English are definitely in there. Maybe some languages I didn't pick out as something different, but yeah, I like that one pretty good. Gonna move up the top of the list there. I watched The Bone Woman, Husera, whatever.
I wanted to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is a Mexican film. I think at least it's set in Mexico. Yeah. And that was another new one for this year, trying to kind of catch up a little bit. And I like that one pretty good. There's been a couple movies coming out this year that really focuses on the idea of motherhood. And this one was medium on that one. I thought it was pretty solid, but didn't blow my nuts away. I watched Saw Deuce just because I was, we're watching Saw, and so that movie I started off and I was like, hey, this is better than I thought it was. I've seen it several times, and then it hit that peak where it's just the stories and the characters, they just can't carry it for so long. So about halfway through, you just kind of get bored. And then I'm like, oh, there it is. That's why I don't that's where it is. So
eventually it just becomes Escape Room, the movie.
Yeah, it just becomes people kind of wandering around that you don't really give a shit about. So it's like,
pieces into the slot, make the right selection, but be quick, you're racing the clock.
Wow.
It's very long, Bob.
I also watched that because apparently the next one takes place between 2 and 3, and I was like, well, I got to at least watch 2 to see, and it's a slog.
Yeah. It started off better than I thought, though.
Yeah.
I also watched The Invisible Man, the OG from 33.
I have not seen that.
I had never seen it too. So as you could tell, I'm kind of going through some of the old school classics: Bride of Frankenstein, Dracula, The Invisible Man. So yeah, that one, it's pretty short. It's only 70 minutes. And some of it works really well. Some of it is definitely dated, and they try to do some comedy aspects. I'm not really sold on the comedy of that film. But there are some really dark, sinister things about that film that I think work very well and were effective. And then, as I mentioned before, been watching about maybe halfway through the first season of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Which is fantastic and wonderful. All right, Bob, what you been watching, my guy?
Hey. So I watched a Netflix docu-series called Wrestlers. It's about this small wrestling company, federation, whatever you call that shit. It's in the Midwest, and I guess next to AEW and WWE, they're the only other company that airs on TV every single week, and they were recently bought out by this guy, and he's trying to make ends meet. And it's ran by, I guess, a pretty well known famous wrestler. He was on WWF for a while. I'm blanking on his name. I'm sure you know him, Randy. You're the resident wrestling
Probably.
fan. It's pretty.
Is that it?
What's it called? The Wrestlers?
Just Wrestlers. Yeah.
Is it the Dudley Boys?
It was like, I think.
Is it CM Punk or some shit?
No, it's not CM Punk.
Okay.
Triple H.
He's got the head. He would walk around with a head, and he'd say, "Everybody loves head." That was his shtick.
Oh, Manhunter?
No, not
Wait.
that guy. You're thinking Mankind, but not
Mankind.
that's
Yeah,
not him.
Manhunter. That's the movie.
That's the movie.
Anyway, he's like running the show or whatever.
Is Batiste? I don't know.
No.
Never mind.
And it was I guess this company would give way to like people like Batista, like very people that would become very famous, but like get their start wrestling in this company.
Oh.
It was pretty interesting. It's classic Netflix. It was like 8 one-hour episodes or something like that, and it should have been like 5. You know, it started really strong. It gets real boring in the middle, and then it ends real strong. It's just, fucking cut that shit out
every damn time. Yeah.
I watched a new Hulu movie called No One Will Save You. This is very much an alien joint. The Greys come down to Earth and shit pops off. I liked it quite a bit. I thought it was a lot of fun. Almost no dialogue in the movie. Very, very quiet. This one girl living out in kind of like a farmhouse in the Midwest gets visited by aliens. Crazy shit happens. It goes to some interesting places. It gets to the aliens like immediately. It doesn't waste any time. I liked it. It was fun. I also watched
anal probing, and
unfortunately no, so mine is a half star.
Damn.
You know
what is the point?
I have to skip that one.
Just don't even.
Just have to go to the room for that.
I promise.
I promise.
Premise
in the bedroom. You get what you want. I also watched a movie called The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster. That is a new one on Shudder. It's very much just a Frankenstein story. There's teenage girl, her brother ends up dying, and she wants to bring him back to life. And maybe that works out well for her, and maybe it doesn't work out well for her.
Probably works out.
It's probably fine. You'll just have to watch and see.
I suspect everything's fine.
I like this movie. There's some stuff works better than others. It does unfortunately have like a child actor that is just not quite nailing it. And she has a lot of lines, which is kind of unfortunate. Sometimes that happens. I don't know. I think it's worth watching though. I enjoyed it. I also watched Joe Bob did this. There's another fucking Walking Dead spinoff. Like Daryl Dixon has his own show now, and he's in France. And Joe Bob did a thing for like the first episode of this, and so I watched it. Really for the Joe Bob stuff, not for the Daryl Dixon stuff. No, nothing against his character. Just I'm tired of The Walking Dead. And it was interesting to see because they clearly had to stick to like a strict time limit. Like you didn't get like Joe Bob going on for 15 fucking minutes. It was like commercial breaks, like 2-3 minutes here and there. Like they had to like hit the marks, which is interesting to see. The show is fine. It's just more Walking Dead, man. Like I have no interest in seeing any more Walking Dead at all.
I can't believe how long they have milked that shit,
God.
Dude.
Enough.
This is the 3rd or 4th series. Jesus Christ.
I don't know. 3rd or 4th spinoff. I don't know. I don't remember. There's too many. There's one in New York.
On top of just I think did the regular show just end or is it still going?
I think it ended.
I think it's still going.
It
ended?
I think. And I think there's 3 spinoffs.
Jesus.
There's one in New York. There's Fear the Walking Dead, which is the first spinoff, is about to end. And then there's one in New York now and one in France.
Can't make it past like season 3 or something.
Holy shit. I just looked it up and this is just what Wikipedia says. The Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, World Beyond, Tales of the Walking Dead, Dead City, Daryl Dixon, The Ones Who Live, and more tales from the Walking Dead universe.
And some of those Wikipedia I think are like internet shorts, but most of them are not.
Jesus.
Sure.
That's old Daryl, man. He's just trucking along, isn't he?
Fucking A. I watched Psycho 2. I think it sounds like I liked it a little more than Randy did, anyways. Interesting. I think
Psycho Deuce, eh?
Psycho Deuce. Yeah, the fact that like I was interested at all in it, I think it's like pretty positive.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
I think it's like that's a movie that's got a good reputation, and whether or not it's fully earned or just like surprising that it's not dog shit
yeah.
is the question.
This is not a spoiler. I can talk about this freely. I recommend watching it for sure. But it was shot by Dean Cundies. The movie's beautiful. It looks gorgeous. Like there's some amazing.
It looks
shots.
pretty good. The sets are great. Like they do a really great job of the sets and stuff.
I think it's definitely worth a watch. And yeah, Saw 2. Dude, it's like it was homework. Felt like homework.
Yeah.
Last thing I'll mention. Paranorman. I revisited Paranorman.
Oh,
fucking great! Like a stop motion animation movie.
Yeah.
Spooky vibes too. Like super charming. Great if you've got kids. You're trying to show some spooky stuff too for the Halloween season. Paranorman fucks. I really do recommend the shit out of it.
I really have been wanting to watch that and Monster House this season. I'm gonna try and squeeze those in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
It's that time. Got to get all the spooky watches in, boys. We got a limited time now.
I know.
And then it's Christmas. Then it's full bore Christmas.
Come out guns.
Beck and I are doing a thing where we literally have a bingo ball dispenser and we have movies assigned to each one.
That's awesome.
And every time we go to watch something, we pick out of that.
That's a
but
good
we only
way
have
to
like
go
half
about
the
it.
balls, so it's like a random assortment of numbers.
Yeah.
Randy and Beck are considering adopting me, so we'll see how that process works.
Spin the
out.
balls.
I'm told
boy.
by someone other than myself that I'm considering adopting an adult man. That's what I'm told.
Feed me, daddy. Okay, that's what we've been watching these past couple weeks. We do have a couple voicemails. Let's go ahead and get into our hotline screams.
Let's fucking do it.
Hotline Scream.
If you are listening and would like to call in and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. First up, we're going to hear from our friend Tom. Let's hear what he's got to say.
Hey boys, it's Tom. How you been? Been a minute since I've called in, but just want to check in with you. Couple of things. First thing, and most importantly, is that if you're in the Jacksonville area, I am hosting a bunch of Japanese horror movies at Nakama Anime Bar every Monday in Spooky Month, starting at 8 p.m. That's off of Wells Road. Big sign that says karaoke. You can't miss it. Very cool. Also, okay, so the librarian said that Part 9 was the worst of movies. Absolutely not. Part 8 is the worst of all the movies. You have Friday the 13th, Part 8. Jason takes a boat ride, doesn't end up in Manhattan until the last 10 minutes of the movie. You've got the Nightmare remake. You've got Leatherface. You've got Hellraiser 8, which is probably shitty. You've got Saw 8, which is probably shitty. You've got Halloween Resurrection, which, by my money, is the worst Halloween by a long shot. All right. You guys take care of yourselves. Happy, whatever it is, September. We'll still be in September when you get this. All right. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Sounds cool as shit.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was an
Japanese horror
anime
movies.
bar.
Yeah.
Like in Jax.
Way to go, Jax.
There is.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and make it out to one of those for sure, Tom. Probably towards the end of October. I'll see you out there. It sounds like a good time.
Cool.
Yeah.
So there's been a raging debate on the Slack about what entry into franchises is the worst, and 9 and 8 were heavily talked about.
Yeah.
I think
I posited this morning that 4s might be some of the best sequels, though.
I think
you got
fair.
Friday 4,
you made a compelling
Scream
argument,
4, Halloween 4 is baller. Yeah, there's some good 4s out there, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Paranormal Activity 4 is the outlier there.
That is
If I
bad.
remember right.
That is bad.
Oh wait, no, was that the? I can't remember now.
I think the even numbers are bad in Paranormal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
1, 3, 5 or so.
Which also fits the trend of Final Destination movies too, right? Are the even movies good in that one? I can't remember.
Movies blow
I like
wieners, in my opinion.
Okay.
Oh, really? The second one, anyway, that's a whole other conversation. But I thought,
but 4s have a pretty good track record. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right about, at least with the major franchises. It's like I can't believe that after 7 previous movies, that an 8th one could so consistently be so dry on new and interesting ideas. It's crazy to me, but
Evil Dead 4, which would have been the Evil Dead remake from 2013.
True.
Solid. Yeah. Part 8s are rough. I think 9s usually are a bit better.
Dude, there's not that many 9s out there.
I would wait.
I guess that's the thing too, is once you're getting up into 7, 8s, and 9s, you're limited in choices. So yeah. If somebody's got like a baller 9 or 8, then good on you. Because that's I
wonder how Puppet Master 8 is.
Halloween 9 is Rob Zombie's Halloween, which is not great. Unfortunately.
But not the worst. And also a little bit, Resurrection by far the worst Halloween.
I think that's
I don't know,
fair.
man.
I think that.
it's hard to argue against it, but the little extra by far, I'm saying there's like 4 I could consider in a race to the bottom on that franchise.
Yeah, there really is. It's a plummet.
I think there's 2 real standouts, and they would be Ends and Resurrection. To me, those are the 2 that jump out.
Ends, Resurrection, Zombie,
and for bad.
Deuce.
For bad.
For the worst.
You said
worst.
Okay, I took you the opposite.
Not the best.
I was like, holy
and also
shit.
too, the one with Paul Rudd. You got Paul Rudd, Resurrection, Ends, and Zombie Deuce. There's plenty.
Part 5, the second. Part 5 is rough for people.
Ooh.
Zombie Deuce. There's just no shortage of contenders for bottom of that barrel.
So by far, let's I don't know.
It does feel like MTV was like, I don't know, we can make a few bucks on this. Fuck it.
Sure.
Anyway,
did.
Yeah. Thanks for calling, Tom. Hang out with Tom at the Anime Bar. Do it every Monday in October. Next up, we're going to hear from our boy Hugh. It's been a minute. See what he's got to say.
Yeah, Hugh calling. Me and the crew of old guys just got back about a week ago from the trip kicking Bob's ass. I realize on the show it was the week of the Cabin in the Woods podcast where I know Bob gave the excuse he had to work and couldn't be on the show, but we all know why he couldn't be there. He was tricky, though. We got down there, he had shaved his beard. He had long, curly blonde hair. Kept insisting his name was Steven, but he got his ass kicked anyway. And then we get back, catching up on some of the shows I've missed. And it was 1 or 2 weeks after I had called in the last time, and Bob was making fun of Italians. So we're loading back up and we're heading back. So you're going to be seeing us, Bob, or should I say Stephen? Anyway, a couple of weeks back, you guys did Dark Water, and you asked for anybody if they had seen the newer version of that or the American version. I have. I think you guys rated the original one a 3.7. The updated version, it's all right. It didn't have quite the feelings of the original. Not quite as good. The ending wasn't as good. Pretty much it was same story, a lot of the same scenes and everything. I'd give the American version maybe a 2.7, a 2.5 if I had to rate it. John C. Reilly's in it. He's pretty funny. He's the realtor guy that's selling her the apartment. He's pretty good in it. Other than that, I've just been listening to the podcast, watching the movies you guys have been reviewing it. been enjoying most of it. Brooklyn 45 was good. Stuff you guys have been watching, you talked about. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Never seen that. That was good. I've watched the Alien movies. Just watching what you guys are talking about and enjoying it. So keep on chilling.
Right on. Thanks for calling in, Hugh, and thanks for keeping Bob in line.
My ass is still sore.
This is the craziest shit. I'm not lying. And man, me and Hugh are in sync because literally this week I was saying, I'm going to throw up the Janus signal. I was like, we haven't heard from our boy in a while. And I was like, I'm going to throw it up. And then I saw the email came in. I was like, holy shit. So glad he just, called in on his own. But yeah, I was prepared. I was ready to throw it up this week.
Is the
Hugh Janus.
The Hugh Janus signal just a giant ass in the sky?
Yeah,
it's a goatsy displayed on the clouds.
It's like the community flag, their school flag.
Anus.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh, they need me. The boys need me.
The Janus signal.
I was worried for a minute there that old Hugh and his boys might have beaten down some hair metal rocker by the name of Steven by mistake. But
no, that sounds like
good
Bob
to know.
to a T. Yeah,
that's me. I got long blonde hair. No beard.
And you often
curly
shave your beard.
Often do it.
Yeah.
Bob, you got to shave for the wedding, right?
Baby face Bob.
Yeah.
We need those permanent wedding pictures to have no beard for sure, so they can live on the wall forever.
No. What the wedding needs is for you to go back to your 8th grade wispy mustache. That's what
do it. Yeah, on nothing but the
That's
stash,
the move.
baby.
Just like 3 or 4 little hairs in the wind, just
in the wind.
You're going to tell me that I'm wrong?
Yeah, you're wrong. I'm telling you. Thanks for calling, Hugh, and thanks for chiming in on that remake of Dark Water. It sounds about as good as I anticipated. I guess John C. Reilly being in it though. That's interesting.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Fan of his work. Glad you're doing good, man. I look forward to seeing a van full of older gentlemen pull up and just start chasing after me with canes. And apparently they're Italian.
Wait, Daddy!
They're also Italians. That's interesting to know.
Your bigotry has gone on long enough, Bob.
Hugh Janus has had enough of my shit.
He is. Done.
So, yeah, if you guys are listening, would like to call in, leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. Oh, I know the question's going to come up. We're continuing on the Saw journey here. We're talking about Saw X next week, the 10th installment in the Saw franchise. We're doing it.
I love the socks.
Socks. So you guys have any prompts you want to throw out for next week's show?
I think which part of any franchise is worst is a fertile ground for people to
or best
refute Tom. Yeah, or to refute Tom's claims, support Tom's claims, support Justin, support and refute Justin. Any of that stuff. Call in. Let us know what parts of which entries into franchises stand the best chance of being dog shit or the best chance of not being too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, do you have a favorite Saw trap? You got one of those? Yeah. What's your favorite Saw trap?
Want to play Candyland?
I would also like to throw out.
Do you want to play Candyland?
If you could think of your own Saw trap, like what would be the most terrifying Saw trap in your mind?
You reminded me too, Bob. I was also going to ask if you were taken by Jigsaw, like what would you be punished for? I think
you asked that last week, but
did I?
Still,
okay, maybe I did.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
You got a lot of questions. We want a lot of answers. Okay, you got 7 days.
Some people don't appreciate being able to parallel park, but not you. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Bob, I think you're getting taken for your blue glutton. I'm just calling it now.
You sit idly by and watch these 4Ks night after night. Well, what's going to happen when you have to make your own fucking horror film?
You're Batman.
John Kramer.
Where's
the trigger?
Just showed you how to make a fucking movie.
Game over.
All right.
The Janus signal.
That's a lot of prompting.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got a lot of prompts. No excuse not to call.
Call in 904-638-3231. We're talking about Saw X next week. Slam it into your eyeballs. Get ready for next week's show. Until then, you can find us on all the social media outlets. Just search Straight Chilling Podcast. You'll find us. If you want to join in our daily Slack channel conversations, hit us up on one of those social media outlets. I'll send you a link so you can do so. Talk about the movie of the week, shows, video games, trade pictures of our cute animals, trade recipes, talking about spooky season hardcore all day, every day. Join in on
pumpkins.
Pumpkin season. Until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
Crossfire, you get caught up in the crossfire.